Welcome to the third edition of our interactive days. We try to make it fun and make sure that I look like an idiot throughout the whole series. Uh, but thanks for joining. We implemented a couple of changes after being Zoom bombed last session, which is why if you've seen the recording, and of last week, it was kind of abrupt the way that we finished. It's because trust me, you do not want to see what happened after. It was pretty bad. So now by default, we have to admit people, and we can we're locking the room, and we are muting yourself by default. So if you guys try and talk, press the unmute button. Otherwise, we won't be able to hear you, right? With that in mind, what are we talking about today? We are talking about lower pain. And so I feel like, I don't know if I told you guys, but I feel like I'm a little bit, how do you say, hypochondriac? So hypochondriac, is that how you pronounce it?
Hypochondriac.
Yeah, because I swear to God, I now have, last time I had last meeting, I felt hunched, right? And today, I swear, I have a upper neck pain. It might be possible that it's related to the fact that I had to sleep in my daughter's bed for most of the night. But this did help. I did the the stretch that you were mentioning and doing all of this. That really helped. So hopefully this session will help as well, and I won't feel lower back pain next session. Anyway, so today we're talking about lower back pain. This is kind of what we the articles that are available to you as every week. Why don't you so can you Martin or Olivia, drive us a little bit through kind of the different types of lower back pain that you guys are observing?
So I think maybe what would be the best way to approach this is to kind of explain what the spine itself is composed of. So instead of just, as for right now, just separating it into low back pain, everything kind of works in unison with each other. So the Cliff's Notes version of what your spine is, right? So 33 small little vertebral bones, pretty much, right? So you have 7 in your neck, 12 along your spine, and then 14 in your lumbar, sacrum, tailbone area, right? So these bones act as more of a protection for your spinal cord. So right there, it has a very, very important role to play. And inside of these little discs they're kind of like these little sponge-like, gel-like cushions that act as cushioning for the spine. So the spine itself, it's meant to hold yourself upright. That's its job. So along the spine, you have all these muscles that are attaching into the area, so keeping you upright. And then just to think, if you have a tight muscle anywhere along your spine, that has the tendency to pull and shift, no matter where the tightness is, pull things out of alignment. So when we talk about low back pain, we're thinking about, so where the lower spinal muscles are, the lumbar spine, right where your pelvis and your SI joint, which we'll talk about a little later, that's kind of like the turning point to where all your upper body weight is kind of shifted onto your hips, and it's distributed, dumped down into your lower back. So if that area is
right there, you need to dumb it down for me. One.
Okay.
So you said, no, I'm gonna sound stupid, but it's my job. You have muscles in between the bones of the spine? Is that what you said?
No. So coming out, so each little disc has these little fins. They're called faucets. So they're like little processes, bonus processes that come out. They stick out, and a lot of the muscles attach onto those little fins.
Okay.
All right. So it's not attaching into the spinal cord itself. It's attaching to one of the bonus processes, either transverse spine on the spine itself.
And then you said and I'm trying to understand. So you mentioned there is a threshold in the spine that you define as the lower back, right? And that's from like what are we talking about? This is like what do you if you were to visualize this lower back, is this lower back, is this lower back? Like what are we talking about?
So if you take your thumbs and kind of palpate right to where the top of your hips are, okay. So and then move to the middle. That's about to where your lumbar spine is considered. So from there all the way down to your tailbone.
Oh wow!
All right.
Damn, I thought I like wow. All right, so I really thought that it was like kind of like in the middle. So the lower back, when we're talking about lower back, we're really talking about like from the hips down. Like
in that general area, yeah.
But obviously, like you said, everything is connected. But okay, as a working definition. And one last thing, because I cut you and I realized you were going to say something. You mentioned it's something like S1. Is that how you categorize it?
So in the sacrum, there are these small joints, S1 through 5, but that's not when we talk about the SI joint, that's something completely different.
Okay, so what is the SI joint?
So the SI joint, so if you were to look at it's kind of hard if you don't have a picture of a pelvis in front of you.
If I type pelvis on Google, what do you think will happen?
If you go to the other article, there's actually an article there on importance of the SI joint. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, perfect. There you go.
Okay.
So if you're looking at your pelvis, it's separated into 3 parts: left side, right side, and your sacrum. Okay. All right, and in between, where the sacrum and the left side of the hip meet, that's your SI joint.
Okay. Wait.
Right.
Kevin keeps coming in and out. Sorry, I'm accepting him into the meeting. There it is. Okay, got it.
All right.
Okay, so continue. You were about to say
something. So when you talk about lower back pain and some of the issues, a lot of it could be from a lot of the things that we talked about last week. So you can either have muscle spasms to the muscles that connect into that area. You can have muscle weakness. One of the muscles that attach in and around the SI joint and that lumbar spine, they could be weak, or the flexibility can also be, inhibited some way. So like I said before, like when you have, like say, for example, people who are overweight, they have more compression on those vertebral discs. So that's what causes a lot of the spinal, like the nervy type pain. People who, that explains why when you're older, you literally become shorter, is because over time, gravity compresses those spongy discs in between the vertebrae.
Right.
So it's really important to think of it as the whole spine, healthy spine, like a flexible spine is a healthy spine. They say that if it's moving, flexion, extension, left, right, rotation, that's what you want to really focus towards.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That really helps to make it put it in perspective for me. So to go back to the first question I had, so you mentioned here like a couple of different type of lower back pain. Can you drive me a little bit through those and kind of what you see and how you would address them typically?
So what you want to do is when somebody comes in and tells you that they're suffering from low back pain, you want to put them through some kind of assessment, like a postural assessment. Okay. So that can be something from just looking at them straight ahead, a profile view. If you're looking at them from a profile view, you want to see how their hips are in a line. So if you want to stand up for a sec, I can kind of talk you through.
Yeah.
So if you're turned to the side, right,
Yes, like this?
Yep. Yep. And so you're very small on my side, but that's all right. So just for demonstration purposes, like if you see somebody who, say has low back pain and they're sticking their butt out naturally, like when you see, yeah, yeah. So what's going on there is you're getting a lot of compression on that low spine, so muscle tightness there, and that's something what they call it lower cross syndrome. So it's pretty much an imbalance between a muscle that's overly tight to its partner, which is not strong at all. So in that case, it would be, your low back muscles are very tight, where your core muscles in the front aren't really doing anything. They're just hanging out, and that's what's tilting your hips forward like that. Right. So you see that a lot with people who come in with low back pain, and just that's when you want to try to explain to them, it's a muscular imbalance. That's the issue.
Between the core muscles and kind of your glutes and stuff like this, or?
Yeah. So generally speaking, like if it's, if you have that anterior tilt, so to speak, it's like it's tight low back muscles, tight hip flexors. So that's, the psoas and the top of the quadriceps, and then it's weak abdominals and weak glute muscles. So that's why they call it lower cross. So if you make like an X in the side profile view, it's tight to tight, weak to weak.
I see. All right. That makes sense. And what about sciatica? So this is like kind of the instead of the imbalance being one way, it's like the side imbalance. Or
you cut out on me there, Paul. I'm sorry.
All right. I was talking about sciatica. So is that, from what I'm seeing, is that like an imbalance like on the side instead of imbalance on the left and right, front and back?
So with sciatica, what's going on is if you're looking at that picture there, that red line represents the sciatic nerve. So that shoots all the way from your low back down the entire back of your leg. Okay. So when people come to you with sciatic issues, it's more like a referral pain type, shooting pain, sharp pain that's going down, it's radiating down their leg. And what that's indicating is that something's being pinched up in the glute and the butt area. So the muscle that you hear associated with that a lot is the piriformis muscle. So that nerve, that sciatic nerve, it's really thick. It's about as thick as your thumb if you ever were to look at it in like a cadaver lab or something. It's pretty thick, and it gets impinged. It's called a nerve entrapment in between one of the muscles in the back of the back of the hips.
About, right? So this is the sciatic nerve, right?
The yellow thing, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's being entrapped in your muscles?
It could, yeah. It gets to a point where the nerve is just getting clamped by tight muscles around the area.
By tight muscles, so it's tightness that would do the pinching. It's interesting. I always thought, like, my mind, like I'm an idiot. I thought that it would be like, hey, somehow it's in the bone or something.
Nah, it's normally muscular related. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So that helps me kind of a good. My audio. Hopefully, is this better for you? Like, do you hear me better?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's fine.
Yeah, that's better. I'm cutting it out for me as well.
Yeah, sorry, it's probably better. I should have put my headphones before. It's all good. All right, so Olivia, you wanted to add anything to this? Like, I get a good. I think I have a good understanding of kind of what we define as a lower back, what kind of issues we have. Do you see any other type of back pain lower back pain that you would want to highlight?
Well, just going back to the sciatica.
Yeah.
So That can be from tightness in the muscle, as Martin mentioned with the piriformis. It can also come from between the vertebrae. So if there's like an imbalance in the spine, as Martin was mentioning earlier, it could be compressing on the nerve from the spine as well.
But what would cause an imbalance in the spine? Like, are you talking about imbalance on the side or like in the front?
No, so just if there was any kind of like vertebral imbalance, it's like what we were mentioning earlier with the, you know, if the muscles are stronger on one side and they might be kind of morphing the position of the vertebrae, that, you know, the bones could actually be compressing the sciatic nerve there as well.
Okay, so I should work out more than my right arm. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you should.
Excellent. All right, because that's the only thing I work on. All right, just the biceps. All right. So let's talk about. I want to ask two things. One, what is the so we kind of touched upon this, but I understand the symptoms. What you know, we talked about tightness and etc. So what do you think would be the bigger factor for the symptoms that we were talking about? Is it purely, so you mentioned obesity would be one, but what are you seeing, especially when it comes to, for our audiences, which is more you know, athletes and stuff like this?
So a lot of it just comes back down to this reoccurring topic that we have of is bad posture. Bad posture and repetitive movements as well. So like I said before, you want your spine to be able to be movable in all different directions. So flexion, extension, side to side, and rotation. If you're doing something that's, you know, repetitive over and over and over again, it's just going to kind of, you know, just
right. So again, you're going to tell me to change positions, move around, stuff like this. All right.
Yep.
Absolutely. And another thing to consider is even things that we do every day that we don't think about. So sleeping position, if you put your weight on one hip when you stand, if you carry a backpack on one shoulder rather than using both straps. These are all things
you don't remember those 90s backpack that had like the band in the middle?
No.
You didn't have this? Are you kidding me?
I don't remember those.
Those were the shit. Like, somebody help me out here.
They don't sound like that's very good for your back, were they?
No, but it looked cool though.
Are you talking about a purse, Paul?
No, I'm not talking about a purse. Like, maybe it's a European thing. Anyway.
So one thing that I see too with a lot of clients is people who people who drive a lot who will keep their wallet in their back pocket. So that
seriously
shifts.
That I thought it was a myth. I thought like that was complete bullshit. Seriously, you see people driving with their wallet and actually creating this imbalance?
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing. All right.
If you drive long enough, if you drive long enough, anything will happen like that.
No, that's fair. What about like
even just having one leg extended, like on the gas and the brake pedal? I mean, your right leg is always extended. That alone is causing an imbalance.
Well, I'm not driving anywhere these days, so I'm cool with that. You're on mute.
Well, I forget who it was.
What were you saying, Gary? You were saying something?
Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah. How about driving a manual transmission car?
So you gotta speak a little bit louder because I couldn't hear you.
All right, is that better?
Little bit.
All right. How about driving a manual transmission car?
Driving a manual transmission car, is that better? Because you move around more? Yeah, I think it's reasonable.
Slightly.
No, but so that's cool. But what about like I'm trying to think about like let's say for a runner or like like a basketball player or whatever. Like, is there is flexibility in your muscle going to cause this kind of tightness? And would you recommend like something to make sure that you'll be able to stretch all of these muscles? Like, do you see that at all?
So sometimes what I'll see is like, especially people who do a lot of yoga and gymnastics and stuff like that, they're actually hypermobile in that SI joint. Okay. So if you're too flexible, if you're too bendy, there's no stability in that area. The muscle isn't really stabilizing that joint as much, and that's what can cause a lot of inflammation, and inflammation, as you know, causes pain. So I see that a lot as well. People who are, I'm so flexible, how can my low back hurt? Chances are that there's that hypermobility aspect to the low spine, that they don't have the stability of all those muscles that are connecting into the area.
That's interesting. What about if you're like me and you never stretch? Do you see people having lower back pain because of tightness? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, there's muscle tests that you can do to distinguish, if you're mobile in that area. And the hamstrings are a good indication to whether or not, you have good flexibility in that area too. So if you have drive me through one. I want to understand what's a good muscle test then.
So let's just do the hamstring. We'll do the hamstring. So you could do you can do a forward fold. I don't really think forward folding and like being able to touch your toes is a great test to see hamstring flexibility.
Can't fucking do it.
All right, no, that's fine. So lay on your back. I'm gonna have you lay on your back.
All right, sounds good. Yes, Jimmy. Like this on my back. Yep.
So go ahead and bend one knee. Just bring it up to about 90 degrees. So right from there. Yep. So the top of your knee should be facing straight up to the ceiling. Good. So take your hands right behind your thigh. So interlace your fingers right behind your thigh. The knee that's bent. So nope. So the knee that's bent right around your thigh.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep. I understand how the body works.
And then from there, that leg that's in the air, you're going to try to kick up to the sky. So try to straighten it. Yep. So that there is, see how your left leg, or your right leg, I'm sorry, began to come up when you did that?
Yeah.
So that's what that's saying, is that your hip flexor on the right side is tight. So that's an indication of tightness in the area. And I can't see where exactly your leg is, but if it's like if your leg is, they say like, greater than 20 degrees, it's considered tight hamstrings. But
this is fine, right? I don't know.
I mean, that's not bad, Paul.
Considering. All right. Okay. And so that's tightness. Okay, too much flexibility. I don't suffer from this. I'm good. So I see also. So what do you do then to kind of? I see Ben Holland. Anybody know Ben Holland?
No.
So it's going to be a no for me then. I'm not letting him in, because this is the kind of stuff like.
This is around the time that it started to happen last week.
Yeah, so it's a good thing that we're controlling for that now. So what was I about to say? Yeah. So how do you actually heal this? What's the? I see some stretches. Like, what can we do as a DIY? I see some videos of stretching. Yeah.
So when you find through the postural assessment, you got to stretch the tight muscles and strengthen the weak muscles. That's the gist of it.
All right. So that seems easy enough. Can you give me some examples for specifically this lower back pain?
Yeah. So I mean, we can do just some basic core work. So if you're doing like a plank, for example, a plank is a great way to engage the core.
Like just normal planks?
Yep. So that will, that's great for all around the spine. And then if you come onto your side for a side plank, that will focus on the obliques, the side core
And
muscles
so
as well.
this is to avoid the imbalance between the front and the back that we were talking about earlier, mostly.
Yeah. So I mean, a plank it's gonna tighten the core. It's gonna make the core stronger. So if that example that I had you do before, where your butt was sticking out, if you're if you're strengthening your core, over time you'll see the hips start to shift back into neutral.
Gotcha.
Right.
And what about the video that Natasha posted here? Like, what this is kind of a stretching routine, and so I see the cat cow. We've done this before.
Oh, that's your favorite one, Paul.
Yeah, I'm not doing this again. I don't know. I think he attracted a lot of weird people last time. So I'm not doing it.
Okay.
That's a great pose, though. It really is.
Really, dude?
Yes.
I feel like I gotta do more cat cow now, and in the comfort of my home. Child's pose, okay. This I can dig. Hamstring stretch. Ooh, what's this one? Glute stretch. How do you do this?
Where are we at here?
The glute stretch. So, okay, like
So-
this.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're laying on your back
Yes.
and you're crossing one leg over the other.
Okay.
So
And
cross
then?
your,
Am I crossing it? Well.
yes, so but bend both knees, so keep both knees bent and then cross
Oh,
one
okay.
leg over. And then you grab, so you want to grab behind, just below your right knee with your hands and then pull back.
That's.
And you're stretching the left side.
I'm stretching the left side. Okay, well, I feel like I'm stretching. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Okay, I'm not stretching a lot. Yeah, okay. But you need to be. Do
you feel the stretch?
I feel it kind of. Yeah, here. I don't know if I feel it in my glutes yet. Yeah, maybe here. Okay, I get
Lay
it.
flatter.
What?
Lay flatter.
Lay flatter?
Rest your
Yeah.
head and shoulders.
Rest your head against the ground, then do it.
Oh, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And then you can make that one a twofer by straightening your right leg. And that way you're getting a hamstring stretch on the right.
Well, you just calm down, all right? Okay, all right. Okay. And why, again, like the hamstring, we talked about the hamstring, but I don't remember why, again, because of the pinching. Tightness.
So it's where the hamstrings attach up in the right against your sits bones. They pull down on the pelvis, and that's what causes a lot of low back pain.
All right, gotcha. Cool. And is there? So I feel like this, since it looks, compared to the other, like when we're talking about upper back pain, where it was, you could feel some like knots in the back or something along those lines. I feel like this is it because there's no, and I'm going to say something and then you can correct me because I'm probably talking nonsense, but because there's no, too much muscle in the lower back, and it's more about like the imbalance in the surrounding muscles. Would that be fair as a reason why you don't have like self massage and stuff like this or massage because it's more about the other muscles?
So I think I know what you mean. I think because there's more components in the lower body that could contribute to low back pain in general. That's why it's not as.
You cannot point like this is the knot, like freaking fix it, and then you'll be able to turn your head, right? Sort of thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That makes sense to me. All right. Good deal. Cool. That's good. I feel like I know better. I feel like I need to stretch, I suppose, do the cat cow. That's kind of the deal. All right. Anybody wants to add something like that's Liv, or I don't know if the other guys on Kevin, I don't know if you figured out a way to unmute yourself yet. But
a question?
Yep.
Yeah. So initially you're saying the most causes of lower back pain is lower body. Is there anything upper body that could cause it? Meaning like from the lower lumbar up north.
Yeah. So, sorry, you go, Martin.
No, well, I mean, you see people who have issues such as, you know, scoliosis or kyphosis. So what that's doing is it's throwing the natural curvature of the spine out of alignment, and you may feel it in the low back. So if that natural curve is compromised through tight muscles in the mid back, you'll feel it down below. It's very common.
So Paul, if you actually go to the comprehensive overview,
Yeah.
so click on that, and then you'll see, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a diagram as to what the natural curve should look like. There we go.
I see.
So that first one on the left is a healthy spine.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then if you go a little bit further, you'll see the back view.
Yeah, okay.
Just some of the imbalances that can cause low back pain.
Well, what if your body is not in the form of a triangle? Is that okay? No definition that way. Okay, that makes sense. This is good. The correct posture. I like it.
Right.
Okay. I see some. Yeah, so you guys can do a much better job at stretching, obviously, when you're able to touch somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any parting thought? Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to have some comments? Anything that you guys wanted to add?
Any other questions or anything?
Good. Well, we can wrap this one up then. Thanks for, again, indulging me in asking all the stupid questions and giving me good answers. I feel I get a better understanding of what's what. As usual, we'll publish this through our channels, and you can expect another session like this next week, and we'll do our best to bring on some more people to your an audience. But thanks for joining, and visit us, give us some feedback. Always happy to help.
All right.
All right.
Folks, have a good one.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.